Yeah, because we haven't seen ourselves like reflected very much in the media until like more recently, and the fact that like we're finally gaining popularity, I think just has to do with the fact that there is like so many amazing two spirit artists who've been making stuff and like being obviously kick ass. um yeah, I think it's just because I remember I read this like thing that I wrote in like Facebook memories or something like years ago, where I was at this festival, this major international festival, and people were like cis straight white men who are trying to sell like two spirit stories like to make films about them. And I was just like, that's really unethical, because you're not, you're taking, you just understand that now there's money for us, so you're like trying to get like a piece of the pie. So yeah, I have a lot of feelings. So this piece is called First Night Out, and it was set in the 70s originally. Like I wanted to make a video that was like about the 70s, using 70s aesthetics for like video art, but also 70s film aesthetics. And I don't know if I achieved it, but I also did like a lot of research in these queer archives, like in the US and in Canada, about like what life was like in the 70s for like two spirit people or indigenous queer people, or like at the time we called ourselves gay Indians, so that was our title, or native lesbians, or so it was like learning the words that we were using in the 70s to name ourselves in our communities, and what kind of community organizing was going on at the time, and also sort of the climate of like homophobia, and just like how normalized it was in popular culture and like on the radio and stuff. So it was telling like a fictionalized story about all of that, and also sort of my own trauma from growing up in like a smaller city as a queer person. You know what actually I found so interesting about the archives is that actually like the intersectionality between movements, like how you know like it seemed that two spirit people at the time were doing more organizing than just two spirit issues. Like there's like like black power movement and all kinds of, and the women's movement, and like so there was like a lot of cross organizing that was happening in the 70s. That was really exciting. Yeah, so I kind of like paid a little bit homage to that in the video, yeah. But yeah, the archives are fascinating. I wish there'd been more stuff about two spirit people though. Like it felt like it was kind of still a little bit incomplete, but there's some stuff in there. Yeah, it's interesting. Because I really love the film of that era. Um, Not even just the 70s, like some late 60s stuff too, like Midnight Cowboy and stuff. But there was something happening in cinema in the 70s that was fascinating, and the fact that was also the birth of like video art happening in the 70s. And also I was born in the 70s, and I've never made work about it, because I was born in 78, so like I was very like I was a toddler in the 70s, so I don't remember very much of it really. I wanted to talk about like the time I did get jumped, because I got jumped when I was a teenager, and there was this, I guess, PTSD afterwards, when you like feel unsure of like being out on the city streets, because that's where it happened to me, was like on the street. And yeah, so it was like just trying to get used to feeling safe outside again, because I think when something happens like that, like it shakes your sense of your sense, your bravery gets kind of shook, and things that were easy, like going to the store at night, are like not easy anymore. So I wanted to talk about that, but also the fact that ex girlfriends, like even though they can be really like difficult, they can also be really like healing people in like lesbian communities. And like there's like a lot of lesbians have like an ex that is like their sort of like emotional support ex that like helps them out and stuff. And like I definitely have like at least a couple exes who like I still go to for like love and support, even though like our relationship's been long over for years and years. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about sort of like not only like being afraid at night, but also like how community can come and heal you. I don't know. I mean, maybe I could make an 80s video. She could have really big hair. It would be kind of nice to do like a decades video series and just like do like characters from like different decades and talk about their lives. Because I really did love going into the archives, and there's some really interesting stuff happening, even like not like in the 70s, but like stuff that was going on in like gay life in like the 60s or the 50s, or even the 80s. Like there was like, you know, there was a lot of like sex wars among lesbians, because like, you know, like there was like the S&M lesbians, and then there was like the really puritanical lesbians, and so there's like all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So it might be nice to do that. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. You know, I've been talking with somebody about turning it into a book, and then I was like going through and trying to find like things that I would use in a book, and then it was just like a lot of work because there's a lot of entries, and so I didn't keep going with that project. But it still might be a book someday. I don't know, because it's not going to be like a blog forever, because I'm not going to, you know, someday I'll die and not be able to pay for the website or something, and it's going to go down. But I'm trying to keep it up as long as I can. Yeah, and I think for people reading it, I mean, probably like, I don't know, there's an X I wish would read it, but I mean, at the same time, maybe a few X's actually, but I don't know. I mean, maybe celebrities could read it. That would be fun. I like Olivia Colman. I have this big crush on Olivia Colman, so if she was like reading it, that would be amazing.